Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Crypto Masters podcast, helping the general public to master an understanding of crypto assets. My name is Brian,
And my name is Ross.
and we are the Crypto Masters. The topic of today's episode is Mirror Protocol, a project that allows synthetic versions of real-world assets to be traded on the blockchain and tracks their real-world prices. So details to follow on that. Quick reminder here that at the Crypto Masters, we provide some general information about crypto assets to help you, the public, understand, decide whether that's something that you may want to invest in, and then do further research on your own.
Yeah, Brian, we talk about all sorts of different kind of crypto assets and, news related things in the crypto space. And that's all to let our listeners make their own financial and investment decisions on their own. And Brian, we're not financial advisors, so.
And this is not financial advice.
That's right. That's right. Write that down. But yeah, the Mirror Protocol is used to create synthetic assets. So, to me, this sounds kind of like a lab experiment, Brian.
It is a little bit.
But yeah, let's look into how these assets are created. Let's dive into the Mirror.
Dive in. All right, we'll start with a little bit of background. So Mirror was developed by TerraForm Labs, the group behind the Terra blockchain and the Luna coin. You'll recall previously the Crypto Masters did an episode on Terra, so take a look at that if you want.
Yep, I'll link that below.
Okay. TerraForm Labs launched the Mirror Protocol in December of 2020 to create liquid derivative assets on the Terra network. And the protocol is facilitated by 5 key stakeholders: mentors, liquidity providers, stakers, traders, and Oracle feeders. We'll talk about all those a bit later. This protocol, I got to say, Ross, is aptly named, right? Mirror Protocol, because it's a decentralized project that mirrors other real-life assets that are not normally traded on a blockchain.
Yep.
And the Mirror Protocol is secured through the Tendermint delegated proof-of-stake consensus, which is used by the Terra network. Might also remember that that was used by the other blockchain we talked about, Cosmos.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
man,
So
we were blanking for a second.
Yeah, I did too. We talked about that when we did the Terra programs. All right. So the governance network on this project really is very democratized. They have a really active governance program. And so that means the network is fully decentralized and depends on the decision making of the majority of the token holders, which is MIR, M-I-R. Mm-hmm. And users stake the MIR tokens to get their voting rights and then create new governance pools to ensure decentralized governance. So it really is a decentralized project from the governance standpoint. So you'll see that Mirror is a type of DEX or an AMM that many of us are familiar with, but where you can provide liquidity or yield farm your synthetic asset, such as stocks, commodities, and other assets. And Ross, tell us a little bit more about some of those real-world assets that are mirrored on the Mirror Protocol.
For sure, Brian. And as you said, the crux or the real meat of this project is to, create these synthetic assets called mirrored assets or M assets that mimic the price of any other assets. And they mimic the price through the use of decentralized oracles, as you mentioned before, that, is really just the mechanism to pull data. As we've talked about before, what oracles do, they essentially pull data off chain onto the main chain. And this is a DeFi project developed, of course, on the Terra blockchain with access to Ethereum and the Binance Smart Chain. And, I'm not going to go into it, but that's done through their bridge to those various blockchains.
Yeah, that's good to note, though, that it's not just on Terra. Even though that's kind of the focus of where when you go to the website, you can do it on Ethereum and Binance blockchain, as you said.
No, yeah, that's definitely a great aspect to it. But yeah, an M asset is intended to mirror the price behavior of the underlying real-world asset. And in this way, anyone in the world could, for example, trade in synthetic mirrored shares of, let's say Tesla 24/7 for anywhere in the world. And as we know, some parts of the world you can't get Tesla, or maybe that's a bad example, but another stock that you can't. So
no, I think it's probably a good example.
Yeah, but yeah, Mirror kind of allows you to easily do that. And, of course, the price would be exactly the same as the price of the actual Tesla stock. All the trading is secured by the blockchain in a permissionless system. And of course, Brian, one thing that's exciting to me, that this system, I could keep all my assets in one spot. Theoretically, for example, I could keep my crypto wallet linked up to Mirror, then exchange some ETH for UST, and you'll get into the whole process of that in a second. And then grab my Tesla. So essentially, in that one wallet, I can kind of keep all my tokens and assets. So that's a huge convenience factor. Also just note that these pegged assets are updated every 30 seconds to the prices of the underlying assets through the use of the decentralized oracles. So that's pretty interesting there. And of course, if you've been trading at all, 30 seconds, maybe that seems like a long time, but that's more than enough time to be pegged to something, 30 seconds, pretty solid. So the some of the M assets whose prices can be tracked are Tesla, which I already mentioned, Apple, Google, Twitter, Netflix, Microsoft, Amazon, Alibaba, and that's just to name a few. There's more being added.
Yep.
Commodities such as iShares Gold Trust, IAU, iShares Silver Trust, SLV, United States Oil Fund, USO, and then some indexes, of course, and of course the Triple Q Trust.
Yeah.
So you've got tons of assets you can trade on there.
Yeah.
And then
go ahead.
Yeah, and just to note that these assets are added by their voting using the Mirror governance token. So you can kind of vote and get things listed. And of course, I think it feels like from the start, like there was like almost like a Wall Street bets kind of gang getting like you had GameStop and AMC get added very quickly.
Yeah, they are.
Of course, there was hype and stuff around that.
Right,
so,
they are part of it. And so, Rod, you mentioned the M assets. So whenever something's added, like Apple or Tesla, it would be MTSLA or MAAPL. It's just
exactly.
You just add the MQQQ for the index fund. So anyways, let me talk a little bit more about how you actually will use the protocol. First, you'll need a Terra Station wallet. That's the main wallet for Terra. It's just a browser extension on Chrome or Brave, pretty much like MetaMask, which a lot of us are familiar with. And you should probably have some UST in there, which you can get from the wallet. And UST is just a stable coin for Terra.
Mm-hmm.
So
pegged to the US dollar, but that should be
exactly
USD.
Right. Yeah. A competitor of Tether, which is USDT, but this is UST. They're linked to the dollar. So anyways, just to note that because it's a Terra blockchain and not ETH, you'll find that the fees are much lower than on like Uniswap, because there you're using the ETH gas fees. So let's say you want to do this, and if you're listening to us on the podcast, there's nothing in the visuals that you would need to see, but on the YouTube, we will put it up behind us. But if you go to mirror.finance, that's kind of the website, you'll see it's a very streamlined site. It has just 5 tabs along the side: My Page, Trade, Borrow, Farm, and Govern. And then down at the bottom, it has the project docs, which is kind of nice. So it's very streamlined. The My Page shows the assets that you have, whether you have them staked or, as liquidity provider or whatever. So that's kind of your own assets that are on there, if any. Mm-hmm. The Borrow tab is kind of the minting and probably a little bit beyond what most people will want to do, I think. So I'm not going to get into that very much. And then the Govern tab is the governance, which is interesting because it lists a lot of the different things you can vote on. So you can see the kind of things that you can vote on if you want to participate in the governance with your Mirror tokens.
Very easy. It's just very easy. I'm just piggybacking off you. But
yeah. So I just want to go quickly over what I think are the main 2 tabs that you'll be using here. So it's the Trade tab and the Farm tab. So the Trade tab will just list the assets that you can trade on the platform. You can buy the Mirror token with your UST. You can then buy a lot of these mirrored assets that Ross has already mentioned. So you'll note that there's the TerraSwap price and then an Oracle price. And by the way, the Oracle currently being used by the project is banned protocol. But anyway, so you'll see there's a difference there. So there's a little bit of premium that you'll pay to buy the mirrored asset, the synthetic asset. So that's just something to note, but it shows you it's very transparent there with the difference in the prices. So let's say that you buy let's stick with Tesla, you buy some MTSLA with your UST. So great. Now you have an asset that tracks the price of Tesla. A lot of people are, very bullish on Tesla
For sure.
stock. So, especially if it's something that you can't buy anyways, so it's an American stock, so we can buy it. You and I can buy it on a stock exchange, but some places in the world they can't. So right there, that alone is a huge feature.
Yeah, draw for sure.
Yeah. So you note that you won't get dividends, but Tesla hadn't paid any dividends anyway, and a lot of these stocks that are actually listed aren't really dividend-paying stocks, so that's not a big deal. All right, so now you've got that. Great. Maybe you just want to hold that, so you just hold it, or you can take your M Tesla and you can get the price appreciation, but you can also on Mirror you can also farm it. So if you go to the farm tab and you scroll down, and you'll see there the M Tesla, which Ross will show us behind us. So you can see you can earn yields on all of these, but we're just focusing on M Tesla as an example by either longing it or shorting it. So as of today's date, the M Tesla longs earn 15% APY, and the shorts earn about 21% APY. And so you'll see that up here or something close to that.
Yeah.
Note that with most liquidity provider protocol, you'll have to provide an equivalent amount of another asset, and it's the same here. So if you're going to farm your MTSLA, you would click on that, and then you'll see that you would then do what you do most times when you're a liquidity provider. You provide your M Tesla and then an equal amount of, in this case, UST.
Yeah.
So again, if you're familiar with yield farming at all or liquidity providing, that you'll be familiar with this.
Yeah, it feels just as I've done on other sites too.
Yes.
So it's very
right. It's kind of, if you've done it before, it'll be familiar. So note that if you not only own a mirror of Tesla stock price, but you can also earn yield on it. So this is huge, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
I must say that like most other liquidity providers, like Uniswap, you are subject to impermanent loss.
For sure.
Which, depending on price movement of your Tesla against UST, we can't get into impermanent loss that much. It's a complicated subject. But here, if you're against the UST, which is a stable coin, it's not as complex. But basically, if the price of Tesla goes down, you're gonna suffer, which kind of seems like something that should be expected anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyways, look into impermanent loss. It's the case on every DEX. When you're doing liquidity providing other than Bancor, right? I mean, we had the Bancor show where we talked about that's its differentiator. But anyway, look into that because that is a possibility with your staking here.
Yeah, and at least something to majorly keep in mind. And we got burned kind of in the early days of yield farming where, I don't know, just wasn't really thinking about it. But yeah, something you want to really look
us and millions of others got burned with impermanent loss. It's a real thing. So yeah. So question might be, why would you do this instead of just buying it on a stock exchange? Well, first of all, assuming you can buy it on the stock exchange, which in a lot of places in the world, you can't just go buy Tesla stock.
Yeah.
So that's huge in those places around the world where you can't do that. So number two, even if you're an American or someone else who can buy these assets, there's no KYC. Also, you can trade. It trades in fractional shares. So some of these stocks like Amazon and even Tesla is about $1,000 a share. I think Amazon's about $3,500 a share. So a lot of people can't buy a whole share, and on the stock exchange you may be stuck with that. But in crypto, of course, you're not. So again, you have the 24/7 aspect of trading. Now, the markets only have a market price for 7 hours a day, but these can be traded 24 hours a day. So I think when the market's not open and there's not sort of the updated price availability, it's just sort of the buyers and sellers, like in any market, and especially in an AMM, you're just, buying what the sellers will sell it for, kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right. So anyways, I just kind of wanted to mention some of the reasons why you might do it if you have the capability of just buying the stock. And you might say, well, why not just buy the stock? Well, that's the answer.
Oh yeah, I see tons of benefits here. I think that's always a frustrating thing for me going on, normal stock exchanges and trading on the weekend. Like, oh, I gotta wait till Monday for it to
Yeah.
like actually hit. So
Well,
that's
and
a
then you
awesome
worry.
benefit.
I usually don't place any buy orders over the weekend because I don't know what's going to happen between
Well,
now
that's
and
a
when the
good point,
market
too.
opens.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
could really get, yeah. Anyway.
Exactly. So yeah, I want to talk about an interesting set of events that occurred earlier this year at the Mainnet 2021 Summit event in New York. And let me start by saying some people have concerns that, regulators may have concerns about products mirroring U.S. securities like Apple or Tesla without registering them as a security with the SEC. And Brian, I'm sure you're aware of this. But yeah, in July 2021, Binance stopped listing its mirrored stock tokens because of this pressure,
Right.
from the
And
SEC.
that was a real eye opener because, obviously Binance is centralized.
Yeah.
So, but they were worried enough that they just stopped doing it on their own.
Yeah, and they must have, seen it as such a big risk that they wanted to completely take it off to not earn, all those profits. So that's a substantial move by them.
Yeah.
So yeah, at this mainnet event in October, Do Kwon, the founder of Terra, was served a subpoena by the SEC while he was like on the way to give a speech at mainnet, which dang, they really
going
brought
up
the
the
hammer down.
escalator is what I heard.
Yeah, exactly. Like, wow, that really pumps you up before. And I guess I did read something like he was served the papers because I just wanted to briefly mention this because some people were like, oh, you lied to the media that you said you didn't get subpoenas or subpoenaed. And he said there was some confusion. Like he got handed these papers and he's like, oh, what the heck is this? And like read it later.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he was definitely served,
Yeah.
on his way up, which really pumps you up, I'm sure, before a speech.
Yeah. That's pretty.
But yeah, of course, many people in the crypto community were just stunned by this, which is, what we were, some of them. But a twist on that is TerraForm Labs is then suing the SEC. And this is really, Do Kwon has said that, he wasn't properly, he didn't properly have due process and know exactly formally what the charges were and all this stuff. So, maybe on Brews and Blockchain, that's another series we do kind of updating on, blockchain news and such. So maybe that's something we'll keep you updated with, but nothing too much here. I've read some articles on it and the SEC is basically saying, that we don't really have charges yet. It's really a fact-finding mission. We want to get some documentation from Terra. We want to find out more about this. They're not really looking to shut anything down. And that's just the state of things now.
Right. No charges have been brought. It was just a
Yeah.
subpoena served for investigative purposes, I guess.
They need some documents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is an interesting story. All right, well, let's move on to tokenomics. So, as
Brian,
I said,
the tokenomics master.
Yeah.
I like it.
the token is MIR, and it's an ERC20 token, but the mirror runs on the Terra blockchain, which is built on Tendermint, as I said. So you get the better gas fees. So Mirror launched in December of 2020, and the MIR rewards go directly to the community. So it was kind of interesting on their launch. It was by airdrops. So if you held Uni at a certain time, you got an airdrop of 9.15 million, which was like 16.5% of the tokens went to the Uni holders. Mm-hmm. And this is to create liquidity, part of why you see these airdrops. Luna stakers got an equal amount of the airdropped Mir tokens. And then the community, so that totaled about 33.33%, and then the community pool was the other 66.6%. And then that's to fund the governance and the initial development and the rewards. So there were no pre-mines, no pre allocations to the team or to early investors. So that's very cool. I mean,
yeah, it's refreshing. It's just kind of like, let's just hit the ground running. Let's go.
Right.
And Brian, I wanted to quickly ask, were you one of the Uniswap holders? You were, right?
Yeah. So I didn't even know about this. And then I went on the Mirror protocol, and when I connected my wallet, it said, you want your airdrop? I'm like, Yes, please.
Yep.
And it was about $800 that I didn't know I had coming. And I think it must have been there. It must have been from when I got the initial uni airdrop. So it was kind of a double airdrop,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Because that was still in my wallet. I hadn't sold any of it.
Yeah,
So,
which I was the unlucky soul to have sold as uni and not be in that. So that was a good surprise for you.
it was nice. So, yeah, like we said, we always like a fair launch, and this certainly was. So there's a total supply of 370 million, and now the circulating supply is around 78 million. So you can see there's still a lot of inflation built in over the next 3 to 4 years. So, but we've seen this before when we've talked about in a DEX. You've got to have rewards to be paid with the Mirror token. That is how you get the percentages that we talked about previously. They're paid in the Mirror token, so you got to have those to reward the community. So it's hard to assess really, when you say, well, there's inflation, and there is a lot of inflation here. In the context of a DEX, it's just harder for me to say whether or not that's, good or bad to assess the tokenomics. There is some inflation, which should be expected, but, I really love the fair launch aspect.
Yeah, the launch is very refreshing, especially as we've reviewed some other coins. It's like, oh, that was garbage, but this is a good one. Right. So yeah, is this the time to talk where you can get a hands on this one?
They're interested in buying it after doing their own research. Where can they get it?
So yeah, and it may surprise you. The market cap rank of Mirror Protocol right now is pretty low. It's 230, but with it being part of the Terra Labs system, you can really get this just about anywhere. I mean, Binance. I'll list some here: Binance, KuCoin, Kraken, Coinbase, and others. And of course, like DEXs, like it's a ERC20 token, so you can of course get it on Uniswap, SushiSwap, and may be surprising to you, but you can get it on TerraSwap.
Yeah, TerraSwap's probably the normal place you would go, but no.
Yeah, and as Brian kind of went through the tutorial earlier, just wanted to mention too that Terra also has a mobile app, or Mirror has a mobile app, I should say. Terra does as well, but Mirror has a mobile app where you can do all the functions that kind of Brian mentioned earlier. And actually, how I got started messing around with Mirror was on the mobile app, okay. So very convenient. But Mirror was created, of course, by TerraForm, and if you listen to our previous podcast on Terra, you're going to remember Terra, and it's a company based in South Korea that was founded. It was founded in January of 2018 by Do Kwon and Daniel Shin, with 32 million backing from large venture capital firms such as Polychain Capital, Pantera Capital, and Coinbase Ventures. They and then, of course, soon released the stablecoin Luna. So that's a little background of the team. I don't think you can question, what this team is doing and where it's going. I mean, Terra is just
it's a Terra team, off. So you can. Yeah.
And I've seen in a recent interview with, I think it was CoinDesk, Do Kwon is expecting. Goes without saying that UST he's expecting it to pass a Tether in 2022. Yeah, but if I was in his position, I would absolutely say.
Well, and it certainly is gaining, no question.
It's absolutely gaining. Right. It's absolutely, and it's got good projects behind it. So that are using UST. So. Yeah.
All right, time for final thoughts, and I think you're up first this time, Ross.
Yep, I think it's me. And Brian, man, I gotta say, big points to Terra Labs for coming up with holy crap, this is an awesome idea. This is epic. I mean, to be able to buy Tesla. Not directly with Ethereum, but, going through as the process you described earlier, exchanging that for UST and then buying Tesla with that's just awesome. It's just a freaking awesome idea. And to do the, get the staking rewards and, I don't know. It's kind of like my brain is spinning because there's so many benefits to this I see. And I think obviously the main concern right now is just what the SEC will do, right. with this whole lawsuit. But I hope they can come out with everything looking good, because I don't believe Mirror is the first one to do synthetic assets. There's obviously other competitors out there, so this is not anything new. But the app works beautifully. It's simple. It's easy to use, and I think that's always what I look at. Coming from the software development world, like, how easy are things for really like retail and normal people to get on and use these protocols and aspects. And to me it seemed very, very straightforward, very easy to use. So I just see tons of benefits. Yeah.
Well,
who doesn't want to trade Tesla 24/7? That sounds awesome. So yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Well, we mentioned, I think, on our introductory podcast how I have a background in equities and co-managing a hedge fund, and that hedge fund was Global Frontiers, and what we do is invest in frontier countries where they have sort of an immature market, and we try to find opportunities there where the hedge fund can buy stocks, and that way our investors, who are primarily American and accredited — you have to be an accredited investor, so this is not a sales pitch.
Yeah.
But I'm just explaining that's a way for us, we could give exposure to these foreign markets and some of the stocks on their exchange to Americans who couldn't buy it otherwise, because you can't just go buy it. So this is kind of the flip of that in a sense. It's, allows some non-Americans who don't have easy access to some of the big American tech companies that are listed on here, and gives them an opportunity to buy that. So I think that's a great thing. There are, and a shout out to my my partner on the fund, my colleague Mark Hurt, who helps me run the Global Frontiers hedge fund. So
right
one of the big things is that, like you mentioned, is regulatory concerns. These have got to get under the skin of the SEC, because it's trading these essentially equivalents of these assets that had to go through the whole process of registering as a security. But so you can see why Binance backed off, because it's a centralized target.
Yeah.
But the decentralized ones are, what are you going to go after? How are you going to? So I don't know how that's going to shake out. It's a little bit of a concern, but I don't know how it plays out.
Yeah, something I definitely want to keep updated on.
Right.
Cruising blockchain. Tune in.
Yeah. And a couple of things that, I mentioned briefly, that it's not exactly like owning the share. It tracks the price, but you don't get any shareholder voting. But let's face it, nobody really does much of that anyway. You can really usually just vote for a director or something.
No, for sure.
So not a big deal. And then, like I said, if it pays dividends, you won't get them holding this synthetic asset. But most of these tech stocks don't pay dividends anyway, so that's not a real big difference. One thing I wanted to mention, there is a much bigger competitor by market cap called Synthetics. We have not yet done a deep dive on that, so I'm not sure the compare and contrast. I know they're very similar. I've heard that maybe it's a little bit easier to mint a synthetic asset on Mirror than it is on Synthetics. Maybe like a less of a amount that you have to deposit as collateral. But in any event, that's something to think about if you're really interested in the synthetic world. There are some competitors you might want to look at, and I think primarily in the crypto world it's Synthetics. But
yeah, that's the main one that kind of comes to mind.
Yeah,
for me, so.
Yeah. So, anyways, great project. It just shows DeFi really taking DeFi to a different level, right? I mean, DeFi, we had all these things that you can do with it, but now there's this new thing, that you can do with it, which is these real world assets with a lot of advantages. So yeah, I think it's a very interesting project.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see, just the result of the lawsuit. But as you said, Brian, I mean, with the DEX, there's really, who do you go after? I mean, I guess they're going after Do Kwon, but
Yeah, and I'm not sure necessarily that was in any way limited to Mirror. I mean, I think it had something to do with Mirror, but I don't know the details of it.
Yeah, it's mainly, it sounds like they heard what TerraForm Labs did with Mirror, so they're going after Terra and saying, "Hey, we need more docs. Like, we need."
Right.
And really, that was when I first found Mirror. I was like, "Ooh, I hope this is registered." I hope this is slow. And of course, it wasn't. But.
I don't know what they can do, but we'll see. Who knows what the SEC is going to do? But I don't know that that's a direct concern for owning Mirror tokens.
Oh, yeah, that's excellent.
Yeah. All right.
Cool.
Well, thanks, everybody. That was been another episode of The Crypto Masters. Tune in next time.
Absolutely. And hey, guys, thecryptomasters.com, we're adding new features. You can see coin prices, do coin comparisons, all sorts of fun stuff. So check it out. Link is down below.
Thanks, everybody.